I think even without this mic, you can all hear me. Professors are like politicians. When they have a mic in front of them, no one in the world can stop them. Fortunately, I'm not a politician. I'm a good Shishya of my mentor, Thiru. And it's indeed a very nice place. It's a pleasure for me to be here in your midst. I bet all of you can hear me there? Sure, thank you. So this is going to be a typical class where I don't tolerate any nonsense. So please take it with a pinch of salt. When I say nonsense, of course, you can do what you want. It is your organization. But I can bet you that you will not look at your cell phones for the next 1 hour. Because I'm trained in my business of people keeping quiet. So I saw lots of people putting their cell phones in their pockets now. So thank you very much for not being a slave to technology. And just like Krishna Rao said, everything that I'm saying here, there is nothing that is mine. Everything is there in Google. Everything is there in the website of the company. All that I have done is brilliant picking and fitting. And that's what PhD is about, okay? Picking and fitting. And if you fit properly and you pick rightly, you get your doctorate. That's how I got mine. But I got mine in 1992 when you couldn't purchase a PhD. Today it is very easy to purchase a PhD by running small errands for your boss. Well, nevertheless, getting back. So next, please. When Thiru very nicely invited me and asked me to speak about this, a lot of questions were generated in my mind. I thought I should take you through a little bit of a journey of my own life. Thiru has been a part of my profession. When it came to my taking up my job, I came from Mumbai, and somebody talked about culture differences. If you come from Mumbai, no other place is worth for you. Because Mumbai gives you that kind of, well, I'm biased because I was born and brought up in Mumbai, and you can criticize me. Chennai has given me an identity. Chennai has made me who I am. But Mumbai is Mumbai and Chennai is Chennai. Okay? So when I came from Mumbai, every time I went into any organization, in Tamil they used to use colloquial slang and say, oh, this Bombay girl has come. What is she going to achieve here? First of all, there was so much of stigma about being a woman in the workplace. And to add to that, they said, in Tamil they say Bombay Kari. Bombay Kari means somebody from Mumbai. And I didn't understand what is the whole thing about coming from another place. Well, diversity is all about that. Diversity is about our biases. It's about our prejudices. It is about our mindset. So when I was thinking about it, I thought I'll draw up the agenda. And I was thinking, these are some of the things that I'm going to talk about. To reiterate once again, nothing that I'm saying or doing or showing is, Greek or Latin. It's all there. And this presentation is going to be with you. You can take it back with you. Hopefully it will be very informative. So this is what I'm going to do. Next one, please. The first topic that I thought of was diversity, inclusion, and belonging. How many of, I made this statement to some of the people whom I met. I was truly amazed by the culture of this organization. It's brilliant. Let's give ourselves a big hand for being part of a very good organization. Well, this organization has emotion in it. Whether it is the young girl who kept calling me at the airport, or the man who came to receive me at the airport. I forgot his name also, but that's not fair. I should remember his name. The person who guided me to my room, people who told me they take care of me at the party, Sumit, Thiru, Indu, what is her name, Chenmai, all of them. I think it's very good. I think it's a very good culture. So when you are embracing diversity and looking for inclusion, you are actually facilitating belongingness. And when you facilitate belonging, the organization is a much better place to be in, live in. All of us live quite at least half the time in our life in our organizations. You agree? Out of the 16 hours that we are awake, Thiru must be spending at least 15 hours in the office. No? Very good. I'm very happy. I'll say a big thanks to him and his wife also. Okay, let's say we are there at least for 8 to 10 hours, which is 50%. Well, if that's how much time we are going to spend in the organization, if we don't feel belonged, or we don't feel like we belong to that group, it's not going to be different. Okay, I'm going to start with the Toyota experience. All of you are familiar with Toyota, and what conjures up in your mind when you think of Toyota? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Toyota? Quality, products, right. In the light of who they are and what their tagline is, this is what how they look at diversity. They believe that if your mindset, if the way in which you look at problems is facilitative, open, transparent, then engineering, product, design, all of that falls in place. Toyota talks about flexibility and agility, talks about work effectiveness, accountability. All of these contribute to the concepts of inclusion and diversity. And you can see at the end I have put down the source from where I've got these data, which will help you to read up a little more and maybe use it in your organizations. So one of the things that made me feel very happy was the point about 100% dedication. And if you see the words in small, we'll focus only on this initiative. Why do they say, for example, when they recruit, some of you may be familiar with the TVS group. Some of you are? Yes? Yes. Okay, something about the TVS group. When they recruit people, they take minimum a month to recruit a person. The background verification, they look at and they ask questions like, do you have a grandfather, grandmother at home? Can you imagine any interviewer asking such a question? Why would they ask this question? Why would a company ask an employee this question? Do you have grandfather, grandmother? All of us have had grandfathers and grandmothers. What difference does it make? They are looking to see if this person has that kind of, respect, bonding, pride, family feeling. Well, the TVS is very well known. Unfortunately, TVS doesn't document like Toyota. But I want to give TVS the credit because they are a huge group and they are a brilliant company to work with, for just like JK is. Okay, next one. This is the example of Nestlé's. Now, Nestlé's, very interestingly, they focus on the talent. And something very interesting is they have something called a diverse set of interviewers. Yesterday when I was talking to Thiru, he was talking about an Under 40 Achievers Award. And he was saying that one person that we both knew was on it. And he was saying that I'm not going to be on that award because I worked with him. The concept that the Nestlé follows is very similar. They ensure that the interviewers on the board are also different. I want to share one example with you. When I was getting into I got into the airport and I was getting out of the airline and we were sitting in that vehicle which takes you from the runway to the place. One Bengali lady and a Bengali man were talking about how the Chennai people treat non-Tamilians. They didn't know that I can understand Hindi, and so they were talking in Hindi. And they were saying that some of you know Hindi, some of you don't. So he's saying, हाँ अगर आप हिंदी में बात करो ना तो उनका जवाब कुछ अलग ही रहेगा. So let us purposely talk in Hindi. Those two were saying. Apparently, the people in the organization deliberately talk in Tamil when they don't want them to know. Well, both are, hitting at each other. Well, the mindset of organizations, and we have to facilitate that these kind of issues don't happen. Diversity is not only, I'm very happy with the video he showed. It was really nice. It was emotional. It brought out a lot of feelings. But diversity is not only about women. Diversity is about people from different regions. We had this huge event some time back when the Northeast people were very unhappy that everybody was calling them chinky. And they were stigmatizing them. You're familiar with that? Yes. Particularly in Delhi and Bangalore and all. They were driving them out of the places. They're saying, you're from the chinky land, go back to your land. I think diversity is about absorbing all cultures, enveloping people, making people feel wanted, cared for, etc. So Nestle has something very interesting. They presented the status, this is presented by them, and they said if you go to the Harvard graduating computer science class, 41% today are women. And if Nestle didn't have the policy of being open and taking care of everybody, then they wouldn't get the benefit of those 41 graduating women, 41%. The other thing that is mentioned down there is that it's a 20 times expanded applicant pool today. Today you don't look at, Delhi, then you look at Noida, you look at all the surrounding region. Today you look at an applicant pool, that transverses all boundaries, geographical, racial, ethnic minority, everything. So that was about Nestle. The next, please. Okay. A very nice wheel. It was very attractive. It is the wheel which is called the Wheel of Diversity. Some of you, I'm sure you can read in between. What it actually says is there are 6 important tenets there. We have the focus on age, sexual orientation, race, gender, ethnicity, and physical abilities. In physical abilities, we talk about marital status, functional specialty. Today, in organizations, in good developing organizations, you don't ask a woman, are you married? It's not done. Why? But this is our culture, no? Don't we always want to know what's happening in somebody else's life? Yes or no? I was giving an example to one of the ladies who was introducing me. I was saying when I joined the Vaishnav College, I was the one woman. And it was a 4,000 strong male-dominated college. So as soon as I entered, this correspondent, the secretary was a Gujarati gentleman, very well known, very nice person, very well read. And he said, Vidya, I like who you are, I like what you represent, but I'm very afraid. How will you manage in this organization? I said, you don't worry about how I will manage, but you please worry about what is going to happen to you after I come here. So he told me, he said, what? You want me to recruit you after saying this? I said, no, please, I'm telling you something very sincerely. Nobody believes that a woman also has certain principles, certain values, and that, you can't just walk around, you can't take her for granted. Today, in the college that I just retired from, 3 times the number of women are there. I was the first woman in 1989, and I deserve a clap for that. Why, I'll tell you. Because every time I had to go to the toilet, I had to go home, which was 2 kilometers away. You know why? Because the management thought that after it's only one lady, why should we invest in infrastructure for toilet? Can you imagine? They have appointed one HOD. I was only 32 years old. And what was his explanation? Kisko malum, how long you're going to be in this organization? You'll say, I've had my second child, and then you'll go away. I said, come on. How dare you say that to me? Whether I have a second child or not is none of your business. If I'm not going to do my job, it shouldn't matter to you. If I'm going to do my job well, it shouldn't matter to you whether I'm having another child. Today we don't ask such questions, do we? We don't. But there was the time when we did that. Well, when we look at this wheel, you see there are so many biases, and L'Oreal is a multinational, regional company, and the kind of reach they have, the product they have touches all kinds of boundaries. They look at everything. Yesterday in the railways form, it was pointed out to me by my husband, for the first time in the history of India, 1/3 part is there. It says T. It used to be called something else, now they say T, right? So, transgenderism, socialism, multiculturalism, and very interestingly, even in their board, they have gender diversity. Even in their board, but their product is such, it is predominantly women-oriented. They are in the field of cosmetics and home, remedies for women, etc. So this was something that caught my eye. And this wheel is so beautiful and so colorful. It is not my picture and I am not done it, so don't give me any credit for it. This is entirely done by L'Oreal. What I've done is, I have just interpreted what is it that picture tries to typify or talk about. This is about Hitachi. Now, Hitachi, their focus, they keep on saying, if you look at their policy statement, they keep on saying, we want people to be happy. Are you all happy in this organization? Yeah. No, I don't hear. Only one man says very nicely, loudly. I think he's the only happy man. What about the happy women? Are you happy women? No? No? Oh, they don't want to tell lies. Okay. Well, we'll try to make you happier. We'll try to make you happier after you go through this session. Okay? The point is, Hitachi says, our tagline is, we believe in workplace happiness. We believe in workplace, generosity, giving, caring, etc. So if you look at what they are doing, they have done a kind of a survey. This is once again their picture. And look at this, 76% of the executive of the companies focused on ethnicity and nationality. And they were looking at, people from different regions. My daughter works for a company called Facebook. And she is in the she's the comp and benefits director. She sits in Fremont, California. So she works with all the regions. They have the African zone, then they have the Asia zone, then they have the Europe zone, and then they have North America and the US zone. So she was saying that it is so important for us to be able to understand diversity from the point of view of ethnic, requirements, etc. Because sometimes the way you talk, the way you express, can actually be interpreted wrongly there. So Hitachi focuses a lot of their energy on this. Their main aim is to stay ahead of the game. They look at stakeholder support. Even when it comes to working with suppliers, purchasers, orders, everything, they are so diversity focused because they believe that their employees must be happy at the end of the day. And they did this survey, and at the end of this survey, they concluded that in order to be a good, developing, and productive company, you need to take diversity by its horns and look at everything. So I want to just give you the first takeaway. Diversity is not only about gender. Diversity is about enveloping differences in people. For example, this is only an example, don't get angry with me. the North Indians don't like dark people? Will you envelop a young girl who is dark into your family? Well, there are stigmas about it, right? Where does it come from? Don't get angry with me. If I'm dark and I'm already married and taken, and it is a gone case now. Can't do anything. I'm not looking for any suitors anymore. Once is too much already. The point I'm making is that we bring in our biases, and it's a sociological phenomenon, which I believe if after this session you have awareness, you will be able to bring about change. Can we have the next? So this is again an example of Hewlett-Packard. All of you are familiar with Hewlett-Packard. They believe in diverse people, breakthrough innovations. Something very interesting that they talk about in their tagline is something called Right Foundation. So just like TVS does, when they want to recruit people, they ask you the whole history. Who are you? Where are you from? What is your father? What was your grandfather? What did your grandfather do? And how do you take care of your brothers and sisters? Things like that, They believe in the Right Foundation, and some of the statistics that are mentioned here are reminiscent of what they do, okay? 1.5% of the total team are managers from a different nation or origin. 2% of the total team are managers from different industries. 3% of the total team are externally hired managers with a different career path. Somebody earlier was talking about, if it's a salesperson, you take him only for sales. The organization actually believes that you can get a salesperson to do an HR job or any other job, provided, he fits into the requirements of the organization. 2.45% of the total team are female managers. In fact, today, Marshall Goldsmith, many of you would have heard about him. He's a great motivating speaker. I had the opportunity of going to Dubai and attending one of his workshops. And so I was sitting in the front row, and he called me and he said, "What is this lady wearing?" He asked all the foreigners over there. Only the Indians could say that I was wearing a sari. Many of the foreigners couldn't even say what was the name of the dress I was wearing. So he said, "What is the meaning of this?" So one American got me and said, "That's the dot buster," he said. So, dot buster, there was a movement in the 80s in America where anybody who wore this bindi, they would hammer them. So this Marshall Goldsmith actually said, this lady has come from a peace-loving country, India, and she is wearing this because it's part of her religion, her ritual, her custom, and she's wearing this dress because it's her national dress. You don't even know what that is called, but then you actually end up saying, this is what she represents, dot busters. So he made a point that, we need to be very open. This is about women, but I was talking to you about how, you can bridge the gap between reality and intention. Can we go to the next, please? Next one. So this is about the global inclusive workplace. You all know about Microsoft, and a lot of examples, any topic you take, Microsoft will be there, up there in your face. So very interestingly, Microsoft has got 40 employee networks, and 7 of them are global employee resource groups. So like I told you, when my daughter is working with different zones, she has to network with not just the zones, but she has to understand the different subtle nuances of the working in those countries. So when you develop these networks and you are part of those employee resource networks, you are in a much better position to get participation, to reach challenges, and to drive change. We get also diverse skills. If you go to the Silicon Valley, who are the people running Silicon Valley? You and I know. Asians. Among Asians, who are the people? It is Indians. The Chinese are fighting. They're strong. They got a lot of money. You know why they have a lot of money? Because they sell properties in China and they come and they buy property in America. Cash down, they make payments. That is why they are better off than the Indians. But if you look at the technology market, if you look at who's running the businesses, it's Indians. And you know something, the Silicon Valley boasts of the largest representation of women anywhere in the world. And the largest number of women in the biggest diverse network is among Indians, Indian women. Why? Because in India, we have reservations, we have mindsets. We make up our mind even before the person joins that she won't last very long here. We'll have to provide toilets for her. We'll have to provide for maternity. And so organizations, managers, but they are looking at what they are getting from there. They're looking at the diverse skills. They actually, if you read that Sheryl Sandberg's book. Sheryl Sandberg is the HR director for Facebook. And she's written a book, Lean In. Lean In. Lean doesn't mean thin, she's saying lean in. So she's saying how women can support women and bring more women into the workplace. So she is giving a statement that we should get more women from India because their mathematical and analytical skills are extraordinary. She is saying, but what is Donald Trump saying? You and I know. Okay? Next. This is about our own friendly Wipro. Wipro has an acronym which is called CREATE. So this CREATE acronym goes through every aspect of diversity. If you see, some of that, I would like you to read some of the statements. On the left-hand side, when they are experienced or they have witnessed or they overheard, what are the things they say? I have witnessed harassment based on identity in the past 6 months. So Wipro chairman Azim Premji is one of the few managing directors or CEOs who communicates with every employee every single day. You know how? He communicates to them through an intranet message that he gives to every employee every day. And he tells them what Wipro is doing today, what it did yesterday and what it's doing today. So he gets to know what is happening. So as you can see, diversity is a CEO level issue. And if all of you are aware and you can build consensus for it and you can push the management to get into it, nothing like it. So career, at the stage of career, recruitment, engagement, accessibility, talent, enablement, at every level, they respect what people say. I feel like I belong in this company. I feel respected by the people I work with. It's an inclusive decision making. Trust in leadership. We were talking about trust. Does trust come with money? If we pay, I want answers. It's not a monologue. I want answers. Would you be happy with just money? So what is it that as HR people, what is it that you're providing to people who come there? What are you saying to them to get them into your organization? What do you say? I mean, anything is right. There's no wrong, right answer. Every organization does it differently. What do you do? You introduce rewards. You introduce ways in which they can suggest how they can make their life better in the organization. And you build trust, yeah? You build careers. You build trust among them. So the concept of diversity and inclusion is to, according to them, inclusion is a tool to leverage diversity, and they try to get everybody onto the bandwagon, or so to say the developmental agenda, by making everybody feel comfortable at the end of the day. Next. This is Vodafone's. I'm interested in reading out the VIN, Vodafone's inclusivity network. It says the 4 C's model: customer, communication, colleagues, and community. But look at how it is interpreted. Values plus effective systems plus cultural competence plus emotional intelligence is equal to inclusion. Somebody said some time back that all of you you do follow films, right? Some of you? Deepika Padukone and Ranveer Singh? Yeah? Okay, even if you don't, it's okay, because it's important for you to know what makes people feel good about each other. When Ranveer Singh was asked about what he likes about Deepika, he said, she shares the same kind of value system that I have. And when they asked her, she said, of course, they are not talking about marriage. That's a different matter. That's a very filmy thing, not to talk about marriage. But they were talking about value systems. In a company, how do you drive values? How do you drive the value-driven culture? According to the Vodafone's equation, you constantly communicate. You let the customer know who you are and what you're doing, and you let the colleagues and the community decide on what kind of company Vodafone is. And this is how they are approaching it. They have not been successful, that's what they write, but they say that our value-driven culture and our individual cultural competence is actually helping us to become more emotionally intelligent, and therefore towards diversity and inclusion. This is very good, it's a good picture. Krishna Rao was saying that when you have a good picture there, you don't have to do much talking, because the picture talks about itself. This is the SAP Labs, culture tree or value tree. They talk about inclusion, they talk about sexual orientation, empowerment, customers, valuing talent, performance, awareness. Everything that you want in an organization is there. It is not as if they don't have problems. You will see at the end that there are a lot of challenges to inclusion and diversity. But this is what they are approaching. This is how they are approaching it. So one of the interesting things that I saw there was that they value authenticity, and they value building awareness, and they value innovation. So if you read that article that is written there, the article talks about authenticity, talks about recognition, cross-generational intelligence, and it talks about different perspectives. So, you have this whole problem of this millennials, Generation X, Generation Y, and how. And you have one new problem now. You have a Generation Z, which has also come into the market this year, right? So if you look at the perspectives of these people, you will see the millennials work in a different way. I'll show you one PricewaterhouseCoopers millennial survey that was done among young women, and what they think and what they say. Shall we go to the next, please? This is the IBM. So IBM's tagline is think global, act local. So they focus on capacity building, support structures, collaborative approach, aligning diversity with globalization. I have some students working in this company, and they tell me that the company goes out of the way to get people from different backgrounds into the organization. Not just women, but all kinds of representation, because they believe that they can transcend different markets, they can conquer different markets if they can get people with diverse perspectives. Next. Next. Okay, this is about women. Now we are talking about hyper-specialized diversity. Diversity from different points of view. First we look at women. all of us, I'm very glad. I was telling Indu when I was talking to her that I'm extremely happy to see at least a few women here. Well, it would have been nice if we were 50%, but then if we were 50%, how the others would have felt, I don't know. We'll have to try that out and see. But the fact is that you today have more women in the organizations. And we don't ask silly questions like, what if you are going to have a second child? We don't ask silly questions like, who will take care of your child when it's not your business? But organizations today are not worried about that. They are saying, we'll provide you good maternity benefit packages. We'll provide you flexible working hours. We'll provide you everything. You tell us what you can do. You tell us what you can contribute. It's another thing that if you work from home, you generally work 18 out of 24 hours. This is a reality. Women, please make a note of this reality. Don't fall into the trap of flexible working, because my research says that if flexible working means compulsory working. And if the boss is awake at 2 a.m., you jolly well be awake. Okay, so this career stage differentials of women, we look at women's careers and their different needs, and you look at the three levels. Starters is not a problem. Those women are very happy. Yesterday you would have seen the news, Cognizant sacked 200 middle-level managers. And what did they do? They went to the campus and picked up 200 women graduates, not men. They took women. Okay, why did they take them? Because they know that for the first 2 years when they get in, fresh out of engineering, fresh out of college, they won't have any encumbrances, and you can actually make them work 18 to 20 hours. So the career starter doesn't have too much of a problem. The career developer has already been into the organization 4 to 8 years, would have children, maybe growing children, families, dependents, etc. Companies have to work towards that and see how they can help them to deal with that. The career establisher, we have women's returnership in companies. They have programs, policies for women to return back to the workplace. In the IT companies, it is very, very popular. But I'm telling you, in the organizations that I have sent my students to, Vedanta is a very good example. They have a lot more women coming back after maternity breaks, and they are giving them very, very good, packages, and they are encouraging them. So there are a lot of good companies also doing this. Shall we go to the next, please? This is the next stage for women. How do we push women from the executive to the middle management? How do we do it as an organization? And do we need to do it? Don't women have to fight it the same way that men do? But we also have to accept that we have to strengthen the executive pipeline, and therefore we need to have some projects which are more suitable for women, and design it or integrate it in such a way. So we talk about international assignments, we talk about mentorship, talk about maternity management programs for them to move from the executive to the middle level. Next. This is once again an example of the IT and the BPM organizations. It may not be relevant to the JK Corporation, but this is just for your awareness. Look at the statistics. Please read it yourself. There's been a 110% increase in the participation from organizations who have introduced inclusion programs for people with disabilities. PWD means people with disabilities. Strangely, very, very interesting article. It talks about how many different disabilities are covered now. What do you define as a disability? IBM's experience in eliminating hiring bias, I want to talk about Amazon here. 2 days back, Amazon recalled an artificial intelligence program, which is a recruitment model. It was faulty because it was rejecting anything that was mentioned as women's. See, women it was accepting, women's it was not. So they had to send that. Artificial intelligence, after all, not human, no. There will be mistakes. So they have recalled that. So the biases that are there have to be removed, and IBM has a very good experience in that.
And some of the outlet of KFC and McDonald's, they are also recruiting different dumb people.
Sure, yes. And that's been much, awareness has been created about. Lots of, malls are also doing that. There are companies also which are having for certain levels, and they are going to NGOs. You'll see how we are working with different people. Next.
Back to one at Ethiopia and Habitat Center.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Habitat Center, Delhi.
Delhi?
Many of the employees, the restaurants are doing it there.
Very good, very good. I think the thing that we are falling back on is we are not creating awareness about this. We need to talk about it. When we talk about it, our so-called masters, our so-called bosses, our so-called people who run the organizations will be in a position to understand that this can be done. Okay, this is about disabilities. So how do companies do it? The way Accenture does it, they have an Accenture's accessibility program. It's called ARP, no relation to the ARP in Delhi. PWD career path frameworks and champions networks. They have sensitization initiatives. What they do is they run programs in the company for others to understand people with disability. What is it they can do, what they can't do. So they spend money and time to sensitize the employees about this. Next. This is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender initiative, LGBT. My students, if I tell them about this, they are very familiar. This generation is very familiar because they say, oh, ma'am, by LGBT you mean gay? We are familiar with gay. It is not only gay, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. This initiative by Godrej is one of the few in India. There are very few organizations. This airline, AirAsia is now also taking up this initiative. Again, it's because of the Tata's initiative there. They have foundational sessions to clarify who is a lesbian, who is a gay, who is a bisexual, what is meaning of transgender. They have sessions so that people don't, pass comments or they don't say something nasty, make them feel comfortable in the organization. This is one of the only organizations, not only which does, but also showcases it to the world that we are a LGBT sensitive organization. How am I doing for time? Okay, a little more time. Next. So now we look at flexibility. Next. We look at flexibility. Now, most organizations today are offering flexible work cultures, but it is more common among the IT, BPO, IT enabled, those sectors. But it is very, very popular among banks now. You'll be very shocked. Hong Kong Bank has a very, very vibrant, flexible work culture. They believe in part-time, they believe in work from home. So what is it that you need to understand about this? It is about the mindset, it is about growing, it is about meeting staffing requirements, and it's about making opportunities available to everybody. So in this small picture, what has been depicted is that if the people running the program have a good flexibility strategy, they will be able to connect the dots. So this is the survey that I was talking to you about, the PricewaterhouseCoopers Female Millennial Survey. In this survey, they actually asked women about what do you think about the work-life balance programs given to you, and see what did the women say. Nearly half of the respondents to the survey of female millennials said that although flexibility and work-life balance programs existed in their organization, they were not readily available to them in practice. So it is one thing to make it a strategy or a policy or a goal, and it is another to actually translate it into something that happens. 53%, more than half, believed that taking advantage of flexibility and work-life balance would have negative consequences for their careers. I don't know how it is in your organization. I would be interested to know and learn. But I have seen that organizations which are able to understand the needs of women and people with disabilities and people with different sexual orientation, people from different geographical areas, they generally tend to do better and they have a better name. So if you can sell it like that. Next. Somebody was talking today morning, I think it was Krishnara was talking about from proactive to reactive. This is a very important magazine, People Matters. All of you must be familiar if you're from Delhi. This is run by a lady called Esther Martinez. And she brings out nice articles about people and women and what is happening. So one of the things that she has suggested in an article is that there are different ways in which you can introduce flexibility. You can offer teleworking, you can offer sabbaticals, you can offer compressed worksheets. In one country in the world now, I think it is Sweden, they have come to 3 days working. So they have offered employees, you can work only for 3 days, and they have achieved the productivity that is required for the entire week in 3 days. I don't know what will happen in India if we introduce that. Maybe they will treat those 3 days as weekends, and then the other days will be extended weekends. We need to change our work culture if we want to, introduce a lot of these examples. Next. What are the benefits of flexibility? Does your organization have a flexible work? Am I allowed to ask?
No. Yes, partly.
Not allowed to ask? Okay, you don't have.
No, no, we have.
Huh? You do have. Can you, in a small way, which is fair enough. नहीं है? हाँ तो ठीक है, बाद में बात करेंगे उसके बारे में. नहीं, बाद में बात करेंगे.
We don't enjoy.
Okay, I'm sorry if I introduce some dynamics into the workplace. Okay, what I meant is that you have gender specificity in roles, you have conserving resources, measuring output rather than destiny. My brother works for a company called Accenture, and you'll be very shocked. 6 a.m. in the morning when he works from home, 6 a.m. you get up, he's sitting on the computer. 11, 12 you get up to drink a glass of water, he's still sitting on the computer. So I asked him, unless you're doing something else very nefarious, what kind of work is this? He said, no, it's about the output that I'm giving. I said, what kind of output are you going to give when you're working 20 hours a day? He says, no, I'm doing it with my own free will. Nobody's pushing me. If organizations can achieve that kind of trust and that kind of generosity from an employee, well, that is okay. But the fact is that you should measure output, not the desk time. You know the famous example of the government organizations, na? You go at 10 o'clock, they have gone for chai. You go at 11 o'clock, they are preparing for lunch. You go at 2 o'clock, they are preparing for tea. And you go at 4 o'clock, they are preparing to go home. So, काम कब करते हैं? This governmental attitude, definitely, I'm a big critic of government. I worked in a state government position, and I get my pension from Tamil Nadu state government. But I can tell you that I've definitely not worked like that. But I can tell you that the people in the organization work in a different way. The mindset is different. The culture is different. It is not about how many hours you clock there. It's about the productivity. So this is an example of a company called Kronos and how they, got flexibility introduced. Next. What are the difficulties in flexibility? Now I think the two gentlemen who were arguing, maybe they can look at this and maybe you can see what are the difficulties. There are some kind of jobs, some kind of processes, some kind of products where you can't introduce flexibility. For example, frontline work, ancillary tasks. Sometimes you have data confidentiality. The company called Parle Agro, they wrote a big article. This is Saurajit Iyer. He wrote an article about why he doesn't want to introduce flexibility in his organization. And the gist of that is here. Next. So now we go to the previous one. We are looking at now challenges of diversity and inclusion. Please stop me at any time. Like I told you, I'm like a politician. If I get the mic, and I have the mic here, and you don't have any mic with you, I will go on. Please stop at any time, okay? But I reserve the right of telling you that whether I'll continue or I'll stop. You can tell me. Okay. Diversity and inclusion are predominantly CEO level driven issues. You cannot introduce diversity in your company in any form without the CEO's participation and their commitment towards it. There is a gap, and that's why I put that picture there. The gap is that companies are having a lot of challenges. There is diversity fatigue. You'll see what that is in the next. Next. So what are the difficulties in employing people with disabilities? Most of them are in the rural areas. If you do the survey and study, if you want to employ disabled people also, you have to go to the rural areas. The rural areas, the education levels are poor, and they are not interested in corporate, private jobs. They are interested in government jobs. The skill set is low. If you look at what the companies are doing, only 1% hire people with disabilities. Many don't even know what is available in that talent pool. When you look at the training design is very expensive. It has to be customized, and you have to find trainers to fit this. But I can tell you that for blind, there is a large number of trained people who can train blind to work in a corporate setting. There are organizations for that, and the number of people who can train in Braille is larger than the number of people who are blind in India today, because there is the government is giving a subsidy for people who are training to train the blind. So you see how our government works. Next. There is a lack of skills and affordability. I think that has been talked about. Should we go to the next, please? Only 18 companies. Now this was a study done by LiveMint. They found that only 18 companies identified scheduled tribes, 32 companies. Now that is also a big area of diversity. We've not talked about that in length, because the government has a very vibrant program for SCs, STs, MBCs, BCs, etc. But then at the corporate level, it is difficult for companies to employ these people on these basis. If there is a compulsion, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you have to go through the employment exchange, and when you go through the employment exchange, you will get people who belong to some of these categories. But most companies don't go, and they find ways to overshoot that. Next. Now, what is this fatigue? This is actually the crux. Why are companies not introducing diversity? One of the biggest problems is they are obsessed with cultural fit. And they think that a person with disability or a person with different sexual orientation, person from a different geographical area will not fit into the organization. Then there are biases, which I don't have to explain. Many people are doing it for CSR, to just tell that they're doing. So it's a number. There is no non-engagement. They employ people, but then they don't use them. And then there's lack of resources. Next. This is something that I put together. Next. This is a personal research I did with 10 of the companies where my students are working. And I got them to tell me, in the name of diversity and inclusion, what are they doing? And I just, crucified it and I put it into a manageable whole. And I think it's self-explanatory, so I'm going to allow you to read it. And you can ask me anything because I have a little first-hand information about these examples. Every one of them, the HR lead is my student. I asked them to share with me the policy of the company. I asked them to tell me what are the problems, what are the challenges, and I of course told them I will only talk about the positive things. Challenges and difficulties, lots of people are there to comment and make. Go to the next one, please. I can share about Vedanta. I have been teaching for the last 33, 34 years. And in the last 5 years, Vedanta has recruited 19 women from my college in the last 5 years. So at an average of, say, 5 every year. And only women are being recruited. And for all their plants, Korba, Tuticorin, then in somewhere near Bhubaneswar, they have a big plant. And then they have in Madhya Pradesh, in Jharkhand, predominantly in the mines, etc. Next. The previous one, please. Can you go to the last slide? Cognizant, if you go to the website of Cognizant, there are reels and reels and reels of information. But the reality also matches the information given. There are a large number of women working in Cognizant, and there is very good pay transparency. As far as Linux is concerned, I was talking to Hema Mani, who is the director HR, and she was saying that we are a very, very diversity-friendly company, but we have lots more to do. So she was saying, after you go and address this group, come back and tell me what more can we do. So she was saying that I want to employ Braille equipped teachers so that I can employ blind people in my organization. They make refrigerators. It's a multinational. So thank you very much, and I really have taken liberty of your time, and I'm very happy that every one of you was listening to me. Thank you very much, and I hope there will be some questions. I don't promise all answers. I can tell you very diplomatically, like Amitabh Bachchan says or somebody says, I'll go back, look into it, and get back to you. I can do that. But there are some that I may be able to answer. Thank you very much.